What's up, Robert? So this is a response to your video about hip hop. So yeah, I'll just say a little bit about myself too. Hip hop artist, spoken word poet, been performing hip hop since seventh grade. So my first experience with hip hop is what people consider hip hop today. Sixth and seventh grade, Warren G, Nate Dogg had a song called Regulate. I bought the tape. My dad was in the store and he looked at it and he said, "All right, you can buy this, but just don't repeat the words." So the experience with my mom was different because we went to the store and I was so excited to get Snoop Dogg, Doggy Style. It was the hot tape. Everybody had it. I was like, I can't believe I'm gonna own this tape. I've been waiting to get this tape, and I've been watching the music videos. So we're in the car, and well, I kept saying, "Oh man, I can't believe I got Snoop Dogg." And in the back of my mind, I was like, shut up, stop saying it out loud." And then she was like, what is this Snoop Dogg? Let me hear this tape." So she grabs the tape and she listens to it, and I was like, "This, this is not gonna be pleasant." Because the first skit is a lot of curse words, and it's him and the girl in the bathtub. So I was like, she was like, "This is X-rated." Um, so from that point on, she was like, "You're not allowed to buy parental advisory tapes." And the woman in the store was supposed to tell her, "This is a parental advisory tape, man. Would you like to be a parent and advise on whether or not he should have this?" So I'm going to talk about parental advisory. I'm going to talk about context and art forms. I'm going to talk about what is curse words. I'm going to talk about all this stuff. So the funny thing is, in my house too, it was like we couldn't buy parental advisory tapes, but we could watch Terminator. I'm like, "This is R rated." I'm like, "Okay, mom, there's violence on the screen and there's cursing in the movie. Why can't I just listen to a tape? I'm only getting half the experience. I'm not getting the violence." And I knew why, but I wanted her to say it and justify it with her mouth. And she would always say, "It's in context. It's in context." And I knew what she was saying because when you're watching a movie, there's two people on the screen. They're cursing at one another. There's a bomb going off. Somebody gets shot. You're going to say some words, but you know that it's towards that character. It's not directed at you, the listener. And so that's what's the difference between music and film. And when you listen to music, it's not directed at anyone in particular. You, the listener, take it directly, but everybody who bought the album, it was meant for them too. So just because curse words are used in one art form over another gives you a different experience because of the nature of the art form. So that in itself, you have to consider that it's not just hip hop, it's the art forms in which curse words are used. Um, Also, I think, it's not about curse word, it's not just about hip hop. I think hip hop just, well, I'll connect it later to why, but people hear hip hop and they hear there's a lot of cursing. And so they assume that hip hop is inherently more vulgar than other art forms, so for some reason, because that's where they hear the most curse words. So that's their logic. But I mean, think about a curse word. It's jarring, period. When you hear it in a movie, you're like, "Oh, I remember my dad. He would always turn the volume down, and once someone cursed, like that's gonna change it. If you're walking down the street and somebody curses, you turn your head. It's just a jarring language, no matter what medium it's in. So it's something more about curse words than hip hop. Because when I was a little kid, I was like, "Yeah, what's so wrong with a curse word? Why is it bad? Why have we deemed them bad?" Um, but I think what makes it unique with hip hop is that the curse word in hip hop represents something else. So you got the curse word itself and then its unique connection within hip hop. So I remember in 10th grade, we had a petite, what people would call quote unquote conservative English teacher, and she said, "My daughter listens to these albums and it has language and I don't appreciate it." And she says, "But don't, I'm not a prude." She's like, "I'm not against cursing totally. Like if you were in the garage and you were hammering and you bang your thumb," she said, "I understand somebody's not going to go, 'Oh, phooey, gee willikers, dag nabbit.'" She was like, "There's a place for it." So there's this understanding that when someone feels pain and they're really angry, that's going to manifest itself all the way from your thumb out of your mouth as a word. So imagine if somebody's in hip hop, they got all this pain and anger down in them. The amount of pain and anger that they have is going to come out, you know, congruent to how much pain and anger they're in. They're not going to say, "Hey, I was oppressed in America. Well, dag nabbit." it just doesn't come across. Just like if you were to watch a movie, you would be like, this is not real. And related to that idea of real, I think that's what else makes hip hop unique, is that hip hop prides itself on this really happened. My rap sheet became rap beats. My criminal record became a gold selling record. So when people listen to hip hop, there's this perception that this actually took place or will take place. So when people hear the curse words in the music, they don't just associate it with cursing. They associate it with, this person has a lot of curse words that they're saying. And if a lot of curse words are happening, that must mean there's a lot of anger. They're saying them a lot and it's very loud and the music is loud. So then people think, oh, that's not just cursing. Like, this is real. Like, take for instance that country song. I can't remember if it's Miranda Lambert or Carrie Underwood, but it's just, I'm gonna take the Louisville Slugger to the side of his ride and I'm gonna key his car. That's a violent song. It's a really violent song. No one really expects that they're gonna see a country singer at their doorstep though with a Louisville Slugger ready to hit them. But when you look on the news and you look at the album, you look on the news, people go, oh yeah, that really took place or will take place. Then they read the zip code on the album they're listening to. Oh, this is 22903. This is near me. So people fear the curse words because the curse words are connected to the anger, and then the anger is connected to this is real or will be real. So then people listening to that experience feel like, what if this really comes and gets me? And the fact that the curse words are not focused like in a movie, they go, not only is it a lot and they're really, there's a lot of anger and this is real, they might be talking about me because there's nobody on the screen to look at to contextualize this. So it's more than just hip hop. You have to look at art forms. You have to look at what is cursing itself. So why do we associate curse words and hip hop as why do we associate hip hop with being uniquely vulgar? So that's why I say every time you go to the music store, Best Buy, there appears to be more parental advisory stickers on the hip hop albums. There's got to be a reason for that. So that's something for people to think about. The other thing I want to say is, I think about what Tupac said. To go to your question, Robert. People say, you were asking, should the vulgarity be removed so that people who need to hear this important message be able to take it in? I think that's an interesting thought to think about. You're saying there's something in hip hop that is being said that people over here who aren't hearing need to hear, but they can't seem to get through that barrier. So I'm gonna speak to that. But as Tupac, he basically said, he saw his life as a rose that's growing out of the concrete, and he wrote this poem. And he says, if you're walking down the street and you saw a rose coming out of the concrete, would you look at the concrete, or would you say, there's a rose growing from the concrete? He said, that's my life. I was in the gutter. My life experience, I turned into poetry, music, lyrics. I put it into a CD form, art that's sold in the stores legit. And I took the very experiences that held me down, turned that into good to lift me out of those experiences. But you all see the concrete. You hear the curse word and you go, oh, that's vulgar. Versus, look at the lyrics in between these roses that are coming out of that concrete where they transform their life. Now, even if you don't like the content, this person is saying, I'm not living that life anymore, but yet I have this rags to riches story. So if we took the curse words out, would people think hip hop is more digestible? No, I think it's a lot more than that. I think you have curse words that people can't get by because, like I said, they're just jarring in general. Think about comedians. Comedians curse all the time, but because they're making you laugh, you go ahead and receive it. They hit you with that 1-2 punch, truth, laughter. And you go, ha ha, I shouldn't laugh, but it's hilarious. But when you hear hip hop records like curse word and truth, America, you have oppressed black people. It's not like, oh, this is fun to listen to. So you have to take into account what is connected to the curse words and connected to the culture. So I think hip hop has a lot of things going on. If there's curse words, there's like the language itself, which is its own cultural thing. There's nuance and double entendres and metaphors, and then there's quick rhythm and staccato, and then there's beats on top of that. Because I've noticed when I do spoken word, no music, people are like, I had to listen to your stuff 7 times before I even, get what's going on. So there's already an intelligence there that people can't see through. And then there's the cultural layer itself, and then there's the beat. A lot of people, when you take away the beat, they for some reason can tune in more clearly. But I mean, hip hop shouldn't have to take away all these layers so someone else can listen to it and say, "Oh, I get it now." I mean, when I was in school, we had to read Shakespeare, and no one said, "Oh, you don't understand Shakespeare and the iambic pentameter." It's okay. Well, you can just skip that. No, I had to study, I had to read, I had to ask questions, I had to do research. The teacher said, "We're going to figure this out," but because hip hop is seen as unintelligent, seen as unimportant, it's not respected like Shakespeare, so people don't feel a need to respect it and get to know it and listen to it. And the people's lives that like the beats that are the heartbeats that are beneath the beats, people don't feel like they need to know that because it's not really important. It's just noise. People think it's unintelligible. That's why they think it's unintelligent, because it's unintelligible. They can't understand, they can't hear what's going on, so they have an excuse to not be able to understand. I can't understand all those lyrics. It's like, okay. I mean, especially when we live in a pop music sensibility right now, where you have four chords. It's very quick. It's very simple, and then the lyrics on top are stretched out and sung. It's easier to hear, so that's what people's minds are used to hearing. But when stuff is very quick and you got to go back and listen, and you got to go, oh, what did that word say in that minute? It's harder for people to digest, so they're not willing to engage because it doesn't just make you feel good melodically, sonically, and then on top of that, the content doesn't make you feel good because it's not just like, hey, we're all getting along. It's like, hey, there's some problems, white America, and it might be some of your fault. And everybody's like, oh, this is no, take those headphones off. Um, so if you stripped away the curse words, I don't think it would necessarily make it more digestible. Because you can take curse words out of anything, but if people don't like what's the message being said underneath and they feel like it's towards them, then they're not going to want to listen. Because I'm going to start this poem. It's going to be called "Hip Hop is an Indictment." I feel like people, when they hear hip hop, it's an indictment on their consciousness, on their conscience. So yeah, I have a talk called "Parental Advisory Stickers" on my website if you want to hear more in depth on this. So if you go to bernardhankins.com, BernardHankins.com, you can listen to it there, and I look forward to hearing the other responses and continuing this conversation. And thanks, Robert.